My screen. All right. So this is kind of an interesting way to share it. Can everyone see my PowerPoint? Maybe nod, yes. Okay, cool. All right. Well, what we're going to talk about today is best practices for annual calendaring for your associations. I'm not sure at this point how many managers put together an annual calendar for their communities. But if you don't, this will give you some tips and tricks on what you may want to include on those calendars. So, for starters, just some pros to put together your annual calendar. So this is a great tool to allow your boards to know what you're doing. A lot of these things might be behind the scenes, um, that tasks that you're taking care of that the board might not be aware of. Also, it assists with removing the human error of forgetting. So you really don't have to remember because it's already written down. It assists with creating a roadmap for your community so you can look forward to what your whole year looks like. It assists with scheduling long term projects, especially those reserve projects that may go for several weeks or even months. This is a tool that you can utilize for those scheduling purposes. It also is a great tool to help you when you're talking to your boards about management fee increases. And it will show you or give you some language to use to justify why we're asking for a management rate increase. It's also a great snapshot. So it's a one-page document that may show your whole year. We are going to look at two different formats, and one format has a one page for the whole year, and then another format actually lists all the topics per month that you're going to be focusing on. It also can be created in a Google Doc. So then you can share it with your board, and then they would be able to have access at any time and know what the priority for the projects are for the upcoming month, quarter, so on and so forth. So there are no cons for putting together an annual calendar. Some subjects that you can consider utilizing when you put together your annual calendar are subjects such as administrative items, financial items, your budget process, year-end review, if you have committees for your communities, maintenance items, landscape, common area items such as pool and spa, your fire system, so pretty much anything that you can think of. And then I'm going to go through a couple examples of things that might fall within these categories. So some administrative examples might include your insurance renewal. Several communities have insurance policies that renew on different dates. So you might have, for example, your workman's compensation insurance that renews in March. And then the rest of your community or your insurance policies might renew in September or November, and this will help you keep track of those and not forget when those renewals are. Also, your board meeting dates can go on the calendar as administrative ideas. Newsletters, especially if you have committees that you are requesting information from, you can have the due dates for those submittals on your calendar. Financial, so CD maturity dates. So it's good to keep track of them. They are listed in your financials. However, it's a good rule of thumb the month before the meeting before the renewal to ask for your board to give you direction on what they would like to do with the upcoming CD that's maturing. So I have a whole bunch of items for your budget. This is pretty detailed in our budget procedure, but just high level, you can put on your annual calendar, your budget adoption dates, when you need to send out that budget packet, other things such as contacting your vendors that provide monthly service to see if there's any changes in their rate for the upcoming year. If you have a reserve study, if you're doing an on-site inspection year, making sure that that's scheduled, really early in the year to make sure that the reserve preparer has sufficient time to go to your community, make that inspection, put together the report, and then have sufficient time for your board to review it, as well as to make changes if needed. Your year end. So we all know that if your association's gross income is over $75,000, that it must publish a financial review to the membership within 120 days of your year end. You might have an association that generally doesn't get over 75,000, but maybe this year you did a 5% special assessment or had some other kind of revenue that put you over that 75,000, which would require the financial review to be completed. Some documents require audits to be done, but those aren't as regular or as often as a review. A review is pretty common for most associations. Committees. So if you have committees, it's good to at least once a year make sure you record or have your board record those committee names in your minutes. That's in case they get hurt while performing a committee duty, that you would have coverage, hopefully under your workers' compensation insurance. Your insurance agent may request that, so that's a good thing to keep on your annual calendar. Also, if your committee has meetings, to have that on your calendar. Due date for committee reports, to make sure that you have that in time to put in your board packet. So our board election and annual membership meeting, we are tracking this. Lay is tracking this for our all of our communities. But here's some examples of things that you may want to have on your annual calendar, such as appointment of your inspector of elections. You want to make sure that that's done before you send out your call for candidates. HOA Elects is our primary company that we utilize. However, there are other companies out there that you can get contracts for. And then this kind of goes into your call for candidates, your notice of election by acclamation, or if you're going through a bad election, you would need to have all of those milestones to meet those obligations for meeting those benchmarks per the law. I have a couple dates in here, but again, Lay is tracking that for us. A good thing to keep on your annual calendar, though, is to make sure that if you do have change in your board, that you're updating your bank and your strong room signature cards. That's really important to make sure that you'll still be able to process your payables when you have a change in your directors. And then the next item is maintenance. So there's several examples of things that may be applicable for your association. Since each association is different, some of these might not apply to your particular community. Some examples include your reserve projects. So everyone has recently gotten their board to provide direction on what projects you're going to be working on for 2023. So now is a perfect time to get those projects on your annual calendar so you have sufficient time to get bids. If you're going to bring in project management, so we can help assist you getting those bids and moving through that process. Also, some other examples are getting gutter cleaning bids, window cleaning proposals, making sure your backflows are tested. If you have other inspections, if you have a hillside, maybe you need your lake wall inspected every year. Elevators. Another thing that may be applicable to your community is ordering a garbage bin for an annual clean out for homeowners. Fire safety. So we all know we have quarterly, annual, and 5-year inspection requirements for your fire safety system. So if these are on your calendar, you may be able to coordinate your annual and your quarterly in one inspection and help save some costs for your association. Some examples for holiday related items for your annual calendar might be if you do lighting. So if you do holiday lighting at your community, also for holiday Christmas trees or holiday tree pickup, to have that on your calendar so you can make sure that you have it identified at your community and communicated to your membership so they know where to put those trees when it's time to get picked up. Your association might have decorating contests for different holidays. Some landscape examples might be your irrigation checks or your color rotation if you do annual colors that you might change your plants. Also for drainage or storm drain cleaning. So it's really important to have all those drains cleared, especially before the rains start in the fall. Tree care as well is another good example about trimming, fertilization, fruit suppression. So fruit suppression is very timely. So if you wait too long and those trees start to bud, you might have already missed your window and thus resulted in having a lot more debris on your community if they drop those little berries that everybody steps on and then gets into your carpet. So pool spa, some examples for those might be your solar system shutdown or turn on, your permit renewal fees, scheduling opening and closing of your pool. So you might need to have your janitorial company store your furniture or clean the furniture when you're put it out in the summertime to make sure that everything's clean for the membership to use. So here's an example of a format. This is our sample format 1. So this is what I was mentioning earlier, where it's one page that you can see with all of your different months for your year. And then this is an example of one completed. So you can see in January, we want to make sure that we record our committee names in the minutes. We confirm our reserve projects for the upcoming year. And oh yeah, we have a board meeting on the 19th. So this is just one example. For example, in July, after our annual meeting, we're appointing our officers. We're appointing the delegate of the board, the person who's going to be giving us direction between meetings. And for associations that are comfortable with it, setting a spending limit so that delegate can provide direction between meetings to management that might incur a financial cost. The rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. The more detailed you can get, the better with the board meeting dates and different finite dates. However, it's also fine just to not even have those dates, and then you have the flexibility of getting that done in a particular month. And then this is an example. Hopefully you guys can see it. It might be a little bit small, of a different format for annual calendars. This particular calendaring it's by month and it lists all of the subjects to be done in that given month, but it doesn't have any dates associated in terms of exact finite dates. It's just kind of open-ended. So you can fill that in or complete it whenever you need to in a given month. And then most importantly, where can we find this information? We'll be able to find this information on the Y Drive under best practices, and then there will be a subfolder called annual calendaring. And then we're going to open it up for questions. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast, but I know we had a lot of things that we went over before we got to this subject, so I didn't want to drone on too long for you guys. So Jessica, you had a question?
More of a kudos. This tool is simply amazing. I think as one of the newest managers coming into Collins and transitioning clients from one manager to another, having this in place is a roadmap for where you can literally pick up where they left off. I mean, of course, transitional meetings are super helpful, but having a literal map of where you can go from here and continue to make it a success is vital in transitioning clients and bringing on new clients. So this is so helpful and amazing, and I look forward to implementing these at all of our communities.
Excellent, thank you. And it's also a tool too that you can build on year after year. So if you are short on time this year, maybe you put all the broad strokes, and then next year you're able to put in more and more detail. So it's a living document that It doesn't have to be 100% right away, but can improve over time.
One of the other things that we would do, I would do it at former companies, is we would present this to the board at the start of the year so they see what we will be working on and when.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of sets the tone for busier months or, less busy months as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think that it's a good tool to review with your board at least annually. And you can also include it for informational purposes in every single board packet. So under your informational only section, you don't have to spend time reviewing it during the meeting, but it's in there. And it also will allow you to not worry about forgetting something. And then you can transfer some of those items from your annual calendar onto your punch list when you meet with your board, and then just fill whatever you have for a particular month on that punch list. So then you know that you're going to be able to get all those items accomplished before the next meeting.
Melly, I was going to say, I actually have it on my desk and I'm working on mine, and I actually have it in every board packet, and it's part of my general manager message. And I don't really go over it with the board, but I tell them, look at it so you know what I'm working on for this upcoming month.
Yep.
But it's great timing for you to do this presentation.
Excellent. And do you find that you have more buy-in with your boards for projects that you have that included in your packets?
I think so. One of them fine-tuned me on when they want newsletters sent out and different stuff. And so it was a little bit too much, but I let her do her piece of her little dates, for each month. And the pool closing, she wants her own direction on the pool stuff.
Right. Yeah, I hear that. And it's good too for setting expectations. So we're on the same page and the board knows, okay, this is what we're doing in January. Oh yeah, Brett's going to be really busy in February. So let's give him maybe a little bit of space to get those proposals in or whatever that you're working on. And it takes out the guesswork of, what's Brett doing all the time.
And the transparency between you and the board and living up to the contract as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your site inspections might be another example. I don't think that was one of my items, but depending on what your contract says or our management contract, if it's weekly, monthly, quarterly inspections, that's right on your calendar. So you don't have to worry about not meeting our obligations per our contract. So does anyone else use an annual calendar that might have a couple tips or tricks that they might want to share with everyone? Nobody? Okay. Well, if you haven't used it, definitely it would be, I guess, beneficial to start to take it into consideration. If you have any questions or would like any assistance with this, feel free to reach out to me. Paul raised his hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody about Boomerang. A lot of times we use it for things that you want to follow up on a couple days, a week, but you could do it year out. So oftentimes what I do when I have these, annual things that I need to do, if it comes up on the calendar, and I never use calendar in this format. This is a definite improvement over what I used historically, but I would certainly, whatever I did do, I would boomerang that out for 11 months or a year so that it'd pop back in my inbox, so I could kind of just pick up where I left off, get quickly reminded on what I did the previous year. And it's a good tool as an adjunct to this calendar. That's all the feedback I had.
Yeah, great. Lori?
Hi, yeah. So I was just looking on the Y Drive under best practices, and I didn't see it. So I kind of came into the meeting a little bit later. So I was just trying to figure out where the calendaring is on the Y Drive.
Well, I love the fact that you're already jumping on it. I haven't put it up yet. I wanted to have the presentation, and I will have all of these documents, including the sample formats available for people to save into their community folder and do whatever you guys would like to do with them. So they'll be there before the end of the day. You'll have the PowerPoint and then a written best practice of what I just went over, as well as samples.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
And if anyone has any suggestions for other formats, please feel free to share them with us. The more that we can collaborate, the better.
Thanks, Melanie. This was great.
My pleasure. Anyone else have any questions? I think that, did we have anything else to go over, Paul, or are we good for today?
I know we're good. That your presentation was excellent. Melanie, thank you so much. So professional, thorough, as always. Thank you. We don't have anything else aside for me to mention that I will be, excerpting your presentation and putting it onto the YouTube channel as a board member training tool going forward.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.